welcome to today's podcast or interview with Casey. So we're Zuzalu.City. We started in Zuzalu, Montenegro, with over 200 people exploring and innovating together. Now we're entering the open frontier phase, focusing on building a community-driven toolkit that fosters connection, creativity, and support. Today, we're so happy to have Casey from Lemonade to have this call. So welcome, Casey. So Casey, please give us a brief introduction about you and your project.
Awesome. Hi everyone. Nice to meet you all, I guess, again. Um, from my side, Lemonade is a super app, super community building and user coordination app, uh, application which allows anyone to create a lemonade stand as a public good. The concept is pretty much what takes you back to when you were a teenager creating a lemonade stand in your backyard to make sugar water and salt to make lemonade, to make a little bit of money and make yourself self-empowered. And that's essentially what Lemonade is. Anyone can create a lemonade stand, which has community building and community coordination tools, which allows anyone to create, collaborate, and celebrate on chain. And it's built on the principles of permissionless commerce and decentralized censor-resistant information.
Cool, thank you. So for the background, so what inspired you to build Lemonade? What's the mission, vision, and value behind it?
Most of my friends are artists, they're creators, and pretty much any platform in the Web2 space out there is somewhat constricting and conflicting because unless you're a famous person, it's very hard for you to monetize your skill sets and your passions via a very exploitive cost per impression and advertising model. And just being able to go direct to community, it's kind of an evolved format of direct to customer. You're able to empower yourself and coordinate and collaborate with other creators in a way which is a lot more seamless. So for me, that is what's inspiring about building Lemonade, where even the smallest of creators and brands are empowered and own their own data and do not have a middleman that exploits you on your revenue or decides who you can and cannot create a commerce-driven or information relationship with.
Cool. So, what about the vision? So, what is the end vision? Do you have some imagination or some plan?
My vision is anyone who has a monetizable passion should be able to earn a living off of that passion without being exploited by third-party platforms or by middlemen who get in the way of being able to go direct to community. That's like as simple as I can make the vision, but overall, it could be as small as creating your lemonade stand could be a small community, or it could be a big digital nation. And as an individual or as a group or community, you should not need to go through 10 different platforms and waste a lot of time and money to be able to build, engage, and monetize communities at scale.
Okay, got it. So, I noticed that you mentioned that you want to eliminate the middleman. So, data interoperability is like of vital importance in the whole design. So, could you give us more explanation on this feature, data interoperability?
Sure. So on a technical level, your Lemonade stand is a vertically integrated protocol platform product stack. So it has Web2 and Web3 integrations on across all verticals, protocol, platform, and product. So whether your data is on AWS or IPFS, we find ways for your data to be truly owned by you, in a sense that any platform which is also using those data decentralization protocols are able to accept your data uh, for you to scale it however you want across platforms. So whether you're using AWS or IPFS, at the heart of it, you're still able to make your data, like download it if it's on AWS and move it to a third-party platform, or if it's on IPFS with your wallet ID, you can go to any other platform that also has IPFS or Arweave integrated. Um, and then with Zuzalu, we're exploring how uh, the current centralized data formats on AWS can be integrated into Ceramic Network. So irrespective of what front end application a user or a community builder chooses to use, they're able to move seamlessly across the entire Lemonade or Zuzalu ecosystem. So even like, for example, how we spoke before on like my view of Zuzalu is like it's an ethical app store where if you're building along certain principles, then your app can be listed in the Zuzalu ecosystem. And then any apps that are within the Zuzalu ecosystem are able to offer their products and services to you as a community builder without you needing to find complicated ways of transporting your data from between different platforms.
Yes. Okay. So you also answered my next question. A case with Zuzalu.City. So do you have a specific imagination bit between lemonade and between the lemonade and Zuzalu.City? A specific imagination of the collaboration. So what to put it differently? So what do you build on Zuzalu.City if you build?
So like I'm not in control or in charge of the Zuzalu product or platform roadmap, but at the end of the day, the things that you can do on Lemonade, um, if Zuzalu were a platform or a product or any of the products or services you were using in the Zuzalu ecosystem, you would be able to cross-pollinate and collaborate very easily. So, for example, the ticketing infrastructure that we've built, we're also building an Ethereum attestation service, which allows social layer to seamlessly plug in, which is also part of the Zuzalu ecosystem. So this way, whatever events that are featured on social layer, um, based on if you have built your Lemonade stand and sold tickets to various events, everything that social layer offers to supercharge your events with their map system, with their session system, it's very easy for then social layer to start building, offering community builders their services and their features without needing to duplicate any code or duplicate any features that Lemonade is building. Simultaneously, any of the graphs or attestation services that we're building on Ethereum attestation service, it has a very structured event data schema, which means that tomorrow, if Zuzalu also starts doing ticketing and uses this same attestation service, it'll automatically make data interoperable across all platforms. Then we have Zupass, which is also uh, an app within the Zuzalu ecosystem. They do zero knowledge check-ins, and they're building certain kind of social layers as well. So our social games within events, they're building an on-chain reputation system related to different events. So we're already integrated with Zupass, wherein if you buy your tickets on Lemonade, you can use Zupass for zero knowledge check-ins. You can use Zupass to build your um, social points or gaming systems for within event guests on top of it. And it's a two-way integration wherein if you check in via Zupass, your check-in stats are recorded in the dashboard on Lemonade as well. So essentially, an event host can use Lemonade to do their event ticketing with all the different integrations and customizations that are offered to them. But at the same time, they have a universal dashboard within their Lemonade stand that allows them to track the engagements from ZooPass back into their Lemonade dashboard. So it gives them that one source of truth, but that one source of truth has inputs um, and diversified risk from across all different platforms that Lemonade is integrated with at the same time. I
Okay,
don't know if
got
that
it.
answers the question on interoperability, but on a technical level, I'm relying more on Ethereum attestation services as a public good with a universal data schema, whether it is for events, ticketing for events, stores, products, product sales. They all have very structured data schemas. So whether, for example, it's Shopify, Wix, or WooCommerce, they use the same data schemas and structures. So essentially on Lemonade, we still use the same data schemas and structures, but it's listed with zero knowledge on Ethereum attestation service, which means that as long as it's the same wallet ID that is moving across various platforms, you move with your social graph and your commerce graph. So we are more focused on indexing your time and commerce graph, not so much your social graph, because in essence, social graphs are built for one spike and then a huge drop after. If you look at friend.tech, that's exactly what happens. If you try and monetize somebody's social graph and you try and put a commerce-driven relationship on social contracts, they tend to be then very superficially valued and over a period of time fail. Like you cannot put a value on the friendship that Francesco and I have and the trust that Francesco and I have, but you can put a value to the time and commerce that we spend together or build together. So numerical values, I feel, or data structure values are more driven long-term with compounded benefits if it's based on indexing time and commerce, not so much indexing your relationship with people.
Got it.
So case in point, we use Ethereum attestation service for indexing time and commerce graphs. And because Ethereum attestation service is a public good, anyone that is using those attestation services or any platform that has those attestation services integrated can add value to those attestations, but can also then use those attestation graphs to onboard communities at scale. So for example, cost per acquisition and cost per retention, cost per conversion, these are the most expensive operations or cost-driven operations for different platforms in the technical space. So how much does it cost to acquire a user? How much does it cost to convert that user to actually make a transaction on the platform? And then what is the lifetime value of that customer, whether it's an 18-month, 24-month, or 36-month LTV that you're measuring. Now, and just for context, LTV, basically an 18-month LTV, for example, would be that it takes me 18 months to start generating a profit on the user that I acquired by spending X. So if I spend $100 to acquire the user, it takes me 18 months to earn the $100 back to break even from that user. And then everything that I make from the user, from their commerce and time, is a profit. So that lifetime value essentially is for platforms that are collaborating in the Web3 space, that cost gets amortized. So for example, pop-up villages, if Zuzalu's main focus is building the ultimate stack for creating pop-up villages, the cost for production of that stack and acquiring users to use that stack reduces drastically the more Zuzalu collaborates with other platforms that are also aligned with that vision. So if you look at Lotto PGF as an example, where it's about generating revenue through lottery systems for specific digital nations or communities, Zuzalu no longer needs to build that because Lotto PGF is building it. And it can acquire customers at scale from all the different apps and platforms that Zuzalu is coordinating with. And the same works for Lemonade, same works for Lotto PGF, same works for Social Layer. So rather than us trying to outspend each other on an advertising model for customer acquisition, we start building alternate channels of revenue for each platform with a specific focus and make the data interoperable, which means that when it comes to competing against a Facebook or a Google, well, actually, no, Google is the wrong example. But let's say like if tomorrow Zuzalu were to partner with an app like Uber, a Web3 Uber. Now it costs about, let's say, $50 for Uber to acquire a customer from growth marketing or performance marketing across Google, Facebook, whatever, or different ad spends. And then if they take 17% off of an Uber ride that on an average costs $10, which means they're making $1.7 per user per ride. And it takes them 24 months to actually turn a profit from acquiring the customer to making profit off of that user. If there's a Web3 Uber listed on the Zuzalu app, all of a sudden they're acquiring customers because each platform on Zuzalu is acquiring a customer. And then tomorrow, if you want to get a ride, that Web3 Uber, which is listed on Zuzalu, is going to be a lot more profitable, even though it has a smaller user base. Because it's not spending that much money on marketing and advertising. So I would say like being able to focus on infrastructure becomes easier, and wasting money on marketing and advertising becomes like the model becomes a lot more efficient because there's interoperability and there's collaboration.
Cool. You also answered my next question, your business model. So, when we were talking about data interoperability, so it is free to use your data, right? So where
It's
is your
free to, my business model is pretty much so like we have an events product. So I'm not reinventing the wheel on business models. So for example, Eventbrite charges something like $20 a month. Luma charges $57 a month. When we launch our subscriptions for features that are a lot more comprehensive than Eventbrite and Luma combined, we will charge $5 a month. But we're looking for more scale because at the end of the day, if you're an event creator, you most likely don't have a lot of money as a small, medium event creator. So to be able to have this as a public good. So there's a free tier considered a public good, as your lemonade stand is a public good. So there's a free tier to use basic event features. And then premium event features are between $5 a month to $9 a month. A subscription model that we haven't launched yet, which we launch sometime towards the end of next month. Outside of that, we have like an enterprise model. So you have big brands that want to create their own dApps. So there we end up working as a dev shop that charges you anywhere between low 5 figures to, let's say, like 100K for a very comprehensive dApp. So anywhere between $10,000 to $100,000, we develop a ground up customized dApp for your specific company or community. So for example, Cello, Axelar, they're using our stack to create their lemonade stand, which has all their events, collectibles, NFT ticketing, etc. listed. So we've generated about $800,000 in revenue from enterprise side. And throughout, we've been building infrastructure so that whatever we build for enterprise can be used off the shelf for a very cheap subscription. So we have like a dApp builder, which is very similar to Framer, where you pick your theme, you can customize the theme, list it on your own domain, and the user experience is just like it's Framer or WordPress. So it's Web2 user experience built on top of Web3 primitives. So the average user does not care if your data is on AWS, IPFS, Arweave, Google Cloud. What they care for is better, cheaper, faster. Better means great user experience, and faster than competition to set up your community and build, engage, and monetize your community, and cheaper than the alternatives that are available. So that's essentially the triangle that makes your platform competitive on a global level or a regional level. So we're very product and platform focused. I, for one, hate marketing. Lemonade has never spent any money on advertising, marketing, KOL, shilling, as they call it. Most of your media companies that feature anything related to journalism is a sham because they all only advertise or write about stuff that they're paid to write about. And only if you are doing really innovative stuff are you actually organically getting any PR articles written about you. Um, so yeah, in that sense, all PR platforms or journalist platforms, they're starved for legitimate content, and most of the legitimate content actually does not get featured because they're not paying them any money to do so. The only time it happens is if you're doing something so innovative that it's stupid to not feature. So it's kind of like a zero-sum game. If TechCrunch features something super innovative, Mashable will definitely feature it, even if they're not paid for it. So um, most builders actually get lost in this space. Most readers that read PR articles or read whatever's on social media have no clue whether the articles are credible or not, and if they've been paid for placement or not. Because even the sponsor tag doesn't really mean shit, and you can legally get around putting a sponsor tag on any of the articles that you're writing if a PR agency, for example, has paid for them and the platform has not directly paid for it.
Okay, cool. So you said that you don't do marketing, you don't write PR articles, you focus on building the product. So how many people are there in your team?
Yeah, like I'm not saying we don't do marketing. Our marketing is our product and platform, and our marketing is our users that use the platform. So if we provide a good enough product or service and we give incentives to users to refer subscribers or other Lemonade stand or community builders, they get rewarded for it. We're 7 people on the team. 6 of us are technical. One of us is operations. Um, there's zero BD, marketing, advertising, nothing. All capital that we have, which is not a lot, but enough, it goes into building with a meditative focus as opposed to how do we shill this out there into the world.
Cool, thank you. So before the Veronica dropped in the chat box, how does Lemonade help the community's users understand the various risks of using the integrated service when selecting which ones to use?
We don't bother with being preachy about what is Web 2 versus Web 3. It's like it's like a very Taoist philosophy, right? So you have effortless action and conscious inaction. Those are your two principles of building any DAO which is successful. So effortless action means meditatively focus on building without letting the outside world distract you. And conscious inaction, meaning reserve your opinions for yourself because you don't need to go out there to brainwash the world on how you feel or what you believe in. But if what you're building is ethical, it has a good karmic retribution, the flywheels will come. So build what the users want, build them in a way which is not exploitive, which allows them to own their data, which allows them to give you a big fuck you and move to any platform if you don't continue to build with the same intent. So that way, even Lemonade today works under a benevolent dictatorship model. But at the same time, if Lemonade were to turn into a bad actor, the users can take their data from CRM, from ticketing, from commerce, from the time spent here and move anywhere else because Lemonade is no longer fulfilling their objective. So all of this is built into the primitives itself, which means from the day you sign up to the day you start transacting on the platform and building your community here, it's all interoperable, which means tomorrow, if I decide to build a very exploitive advertising model, or I decide to take the revenue that our subscribers or our customers are building, the customers have it in their power to tell us to fuck off at that point and not lose any of the time and commerce index that they've built on the platform.
Okay, got it. So, actually, for Zuzalu.City, so we're really short-handed. We have met a lot of problems and challenges. Right now, we're really short-handed. Like this is one of the biggest problems. So we're really slow in development. So, what is the biggest challenges? Were the most interesting challenge that you have met in the building progress?
Similar. So, like, for example, you have, without, I guess, taking names, really dumb ideas and projects which raise a lot of capital and then they ruin the market with overpaying for really shitty talent. So it becomes very hard for projects with limited capital to be able to recruit and build with good engineering and design. Fortunately for us, the biggest cost for Lemonade, which is technical and design related, is all in-house with the founding team. So we don't really have to rely on a lot of outsiders. Nothing that's built on Lemonade is outsourced. It's with our own team and we take time to recruit. We don't overhire. And if we find, and so we take long to hire, but we are very quick to fire if you're not part of the culture. So, which is why, like, if you ask anyone outside of Lemonade that has probably been part of the team and they got fired, most likely they will say that I'm an asshole. But we have limited funds just like Zuzalu, and we don't waste any of our investor money or money that our customers are paying us because in some way it has put in a lot of trust. So in that sense, yes, like our first and foremost challenge is capital, but we make it harder for ourselves because it's also ethical capital. Any investor that tries to tell us to lower our cliff investing on the token, we tell them to fuck off, no matter how important or powerful they are. Because at the end of the day, it's very easy to get cheap money, but that cheap money comes with a lot of conditions attached to it, which are contradictory to your long-term vision or to your customer. Because unlike social media platforms, our product is not the users that use the platform. Our product is the actual code and design that is being built for the people that are paying for it. And so in that sense, when it comes to any app which is part of the Zuzalu community, we should probably like look at how do we get as much capital under our ecosystem as possible, and then efficiently and ethically spend that capital over a longer duration of time together as a team, even if it's a team of multiple different teams. Because like a meta DAO format will never work. There's no accountability. But if you have a system of sub DAOs which are contributing to an overarching united vision, it becomes a lot easier to execute and hit all the different sides of growth, engagement, and monetization together. So today, if you ask me what is Lemonade's biggest challenge for the tech that we've already built, it's growth for our growth and engagement. For the tech that we have coming up, it's capital because it takes capital to build more products and build better engagement modules, build better incentive modules, which are built on Web3 principles. Why it's so expensive? It's because the current user experience is horrible in Web3, irrespective of what platform it is. And in order to get that kind of scale and mass adoption, you have to be able to compete with Web2 platforms and Web2 user experience. Because as much as we like to circle jerk ourselves into important principles like data interoperability and data ownership, the average user really does not care if they have to go through 100 different steps to make that happen. So great Web2 like user experience built on Web3 principles is what the industry actually needs for mass adoption. Otherwise, we'll constantly be dreaming about a path to a billion users, but that's never going to happen if that focus is not singular across the space, at least for the platforms that are ethically building. Um, then if you also look at like most of your current Web3 things that kick off or projects that kick off, it's the same people exchanging wealth. It's not really creation of new wealth. So um, a lot of like a lot, it's like a culture of a lot of narcissism, a lot of self-gratification and grandization. It's not really um, where new users are coming in and participating in that wealth creation system, at least not at the scale that you would expect from the fact that there's almost 7 billion people in this world and there's maybe about 150 to 200,000 people active in Web3. And when I say active, I mean daily active users, monthly active users, not, oh, I created a wallet and then I forgot about it. That's not being active, you know? Um, it's very hard also to currently track how many of these wallets are created by the same users versus via new users. I myself have over 300 different wallets. I create a new wallet, hot wallet every day for something or the other. So in that sense, like, I don't know, honestly, outside of 100 to maybe 200,000 daily active people, how many of them are actually active and how many of them are your unsavory traders versus actual builders and people that are benefiting from the community. You do have like tokens that take off that create wealth for maybe a handful of new people, but it's mostly the same number of people that are across all different token holdings that are sending money to each other across their different wallets. So you can say that X token has now generated $1.5 billion market cap, but how many of those token holders are actually new people that came into the ecosystem that believed in the thesis? There are fucking meme coins that have higher market cap than the entire Arbitrum chain ecosystem. Makes no sense, right? So a lot of nonsensical things happen in Web3 that I personally don't agree with because I mean, if the capital was actually used in the right way or directed in the right way from generation of a lot of these meme coins, then I would get behind the idea. But a lot of these meme coins that launch, to me, it's wasted wealth, wasted capital, wasted social capital, financial capital, because you have a lot of pump and dump schemes. And then people move on. They buy their private jets, they buy their villas, they buy their citizenships to Caribbean countries. But what do they actually build in the space to move it forward? Nothing. So how much does it affect the average customer? Not in Web3, or the average customer who is in Web3, negligible, because most people don't even know when a new token is going live unless you're in the internal ecosystem. Um, yeah, so for me, like I'm very cynical about not just like I'm cynical about Web2 and Web3 in general. Legitimacy and authenticity are like for me the only currencies that matter, and those currencies are built over time because that's time is that one factor that you cannot account for or that you can account for to show if a project or an individual or a community is authentic or not, or legitimate or not. So maybe some of these meme coins and these random app chains or L2s that are launching might be authentic, but the only way to gauge that authenticity and legitimacy is time, nothing else. So it's fairly new, I guess. The L2 market is heating up, but it's still fairly new. Any moron can launch an L2 now just by signing up on one of those websites, if it's Altlayer or if it's Chaindrop or whatever. But how many of those L2 launchers are not bad actors? We don't know yet. Or how many of them have the technical capabilities or the intellectual capabilities to scale it? We don't know yet. So time is that one factor that can determine this sense of legitimacy.
Yeah, sure. So when talking about this layer two or different chains, so on which chains will Lemonade be deployed on?
Lemonade is a secular platform. We currently support 22 different blockchains in the L2 space, in the Alt L1 space, and then within the Polkadot ecosystem. Moonbeam is something that we support as well. When we say we support, it means that you can create your collectibles, your token gated gamifications using any of these chains, but um, we don't outwardly market any chain ourselves. If you ask me on personally which chains I build upon when given a choice, it's Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base. Arbitrum uh, has been key in scaling Ethereum. Optimism has been key in generating revenue for public good builders. Base has been key in consumer mass adoption. As an Alt 1, which is now moving to an L2 on Ethereum, Celo, we wholeheartedly support because, again, with time, these chains have proven authenticity, legitimacy, because they've been consistent. If you look at the African ecosystem, no chain has done more than any other chain combined uh, than Celo. If you look at concepts like MiniPay as an app that Celo has launched, you don't even like even if you don't have a data connection, you can open it for free. Like it's free data empowered. So like the way I think about it is like it's very easy for developed markets like Europe, UK, US, even India to that extent to talk about DeFi, but these are buzzwords when it comes to countries where you can trust your government. DeFi means nothing in terms of practice to someone in the United States where you can talk shit about your president and still survive for the next 10 years without any repercussions or forever for any repercussions. But for sub-Saharan Africa or markets where you cannot trust your government, you have to resort to DeFi because you don't know if the government or the bank will steal your money. You don't know if you're going to get robbed on the way to the ATM or on the way back from the ATM. That's why grocery stores accept Bitcoin or they accept USDC. If you go to Lebanon, USDC is the base layer currency. If you look at Argentina or Venezuela, where you cannot trust your currency because of hyperinflation, you trust USDC. So their DeFi actually means something. But if you look at the United States, UK, Europe, these are buzzwords because let's face it, like if the bank steals your money or or there's a bank run on any of the traditional banks, the government will bail you out and you will get your money back. That's what happened with Silicon Valley Bank in the United States. A year and a half ago, they had a bank run. Literally, the bank did not have any money to support it, and the government came and issued billions of dollars back to everyone who lost money. We ourselves had we had a Silicon Valley Bank account for our Web2 side of the company, which is registered as a C Corp. And it had like $15,000 in there, not much, but it did get bailed out and we did get that money back. So did everyone who had anywhere between $1 million to 10 million to 100 million deposited in that bank account. Try doing that in an African market, never going to happen, right? Even Cyprus within the European Union, sometime in between 2010 2013, the government took 20% out of every bank account in Cyprus to pay off their national debt. There's no recourse. So these are markets where DeFi means something, where having zero knowledge for voting and for ballots means something, because you can get shot if you don't vote for the right person in any of these countries. So their governance models, multi-sigs, where communities can control funds together, means a hell of a lot more than someone in a developed market where you can trust the government. I don't know what the question was. I don't know why I'm talking about this. Sorry. What was the question?
The question began from on which chain Lemonade will be deployed on. Then you expand.
Your
the top.
Lemonade stand Ethereum attestation service is deployed on Optimism, because it's the most aligned with public goods funding, and your Lemonade stand is a public good. As far as anything on the DeFi side is concerned, we support all chains in the EVM ecosystem, which it could be an L2 or it could be an Alt L1, which is EVM compatible. Um, And our chains that we usually build upon are Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base for our own services. Our
Yes.
multi-sigs are also on Ethereum, Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base.
Yes, you explained at the beginning, and you expand the topic to the meaning of DeFi. That's interesting. And as for time is really limited, so we have the last question from a user, Veronica. She, because you said that the data will be owned by user. That's the or that's the slogan of Web3. So we also concern about the security of our data. So when you select which project you will collaborate or you will integrate, will you do some due diligence on those services or projects, because we're really concerned about security, right?
So, I mean, it also depends upon. So, one thing is security, and the other is data ownership. So, security-wise, again, it's the test of time. No due diligence apart from testing over time a particular platform or protocol. There's no alternative to it. So for messaging, we use Matrix protocol. It is not decentralized, but it is open source. We host it on AWS, which means that we actually don't know what users are talking about because we depend upon Matrix protocol for the end-to-end encryption. And in terms of interoperability, any platform that's integrated Matrix protocol, you can move back and forth really easily with messaging across the entire Matrix protocol ecosystem. There are some things that make sense for them to be decentralized. Some things don't make sense for them to be decentralized. Not the way the tech stands today if you're looking for mass adoption. And fanaticism in any side, Web 2 or Web 3, is not good. You need to be very secular and balanced when building a platform like this, which is meant for consumer or mass adoption. So there's no point, for example, having a zero knowledge platform that has zero users. By default, a platform which is built with 100% knowledge and zero users is equal to a platform that is built with zero knowledge and zero users. So in that sense, security for us, AWS is pretty secure, but we, as long as remain good actors, this data that is stored on AWS remains secure. Now, the data which is on IPFS, I don't know how much of IPFS is secured by AWS, but at the same time, we rely on Filecoin and the IPFS ecosystem to remain good actors and continue their decentralization process without compromising the user experience. And then for us, security, we're not security focused engineers, even though we understand data security. So we rely on platforms that have proven through the test of time to remain secure. So for example, any messages that you send in DMs, group chats, etc. on Lemonade using the Matrix protocol, Lemonade has no access to them. We don't know what users are talking about amongst themselves. If a subpoena tomorrow is issued, we redirect it straight to the Matrix team to decide what they want to do with it. So in that sense, like, it depends on like what you're which part of the service that you're using on Lemonade, because as a vertically integrated protocol platform product stack, we have lots of different products and services because That's what saves the customer time and money from as an alternative to use 10 different SaaS platforms where they're paying $20 a month each to that platform, which allows us to be better, cheaper, faster. So we use a variety of different services, and each of those services or protocols that are integrated, there is a form of trust which has been built over time to show that these platforms are either good actors, or if they have the potential to be bad actors or censor you, there's an alternative, which is why whatever's on AWS can be committed with zero knowledge on Ethereum attestation service, which becomes interoperable. So tomorrow, if AWS censors you, that means Lemonade has censored you. If you have backed it up on Ethereum attestation service, you can move with your social graph, time graph, commerce graph across any other platform that integrates that attestation service. So I cannot promise that AWS will remain a good actor, but at the same time, because they will respond to the status quo. So we give alternatives to back up whatever's on AWS. Whatever's on IPFS, we trust Filecoin and IPFS to keep secure and keep interoperable. Nothing in this, whatever you build in terms of what is permissionless or trustless, again, these are all buzzwords, because on a platform level and a protocol level, the builders do need to have that sense of trust that they will honor each other's communities and not screw them over. Lemonade is fairly new, so it has not really built that kind of trust that IPFS or Filecoin have, but that's why we don't spend money on marketing to preach what we're building is ethical. We just wait for some bad action to happen to show how your data still remain secure and interoperable.
Okay, got it. You're acting like a hunter, so or filtration or filter. Like if some projects they are bad actors, you will not cooperate or integrate them, right? So and you are waiting for time to test them.
Yeah, like Arbitrum, Avalanche, Celo, like some of these chains have proven to be good actors. They've proven to be aligned. They've proven to ethically spend the capital that they have, not just on overpaying themselves, but paying their community or generating revenue and wealth across their community, without differentiating how famous or how new that community member is. They're very supportive. Ethereum as an ecosystem has always been inclusive, not exclusive. And these L2s have brought in a lot of community that has been priced out of Ethereum because they were too late to join. Because Ethereum today is at what, 3,000 something dollars per ETH. And it's not very inclusive for everyone to buy one ETH today. But it is possible for people to join this L2 ecosystem and accumulate that wealth over time to be able to have enough ETH in their wallets as something which is money that they truly own. So yeah, time is definitely, like, we go with tried and tested platforms, chains, and services. We don't integrate something new just because they have hype and they will give us a grant to do so. Because integrating them is, in essence, somewhat endorsing them. So yeah, we're careful on what the platform inadvertently or subtly endorses through integrations.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Casey. I think we're running out of the time. It's already like 15 minutes. Your words have always been so insightful. Thank you for your time. Hope we can do a next session about other topics like that. So one last question. Does anybody, Kathy, Francesco, do you have any questions or ideas?
I mean, the flow was great as always, so I didn't feel like interrupting and just sharing information. So there is nothing I would say was missed. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you for your time and patience with all my tangents. I'm not very good, as you can see, with answering a question in a focused way. So this was awesome. Happy to do more conversations in the future related to governance and scale.
Yeah.
Not very good personally with podcasts, but the motto inside Lemonade is shut the fuck up and build, which is why I don't really talk a lot outside of within the team. I talk a lot, but outside I don't really preach what we're building. So yeah, I'm really grateful for your time and patience.
Thank you so much. Hope we will talk about governance next time. See you.